Well, hello. Today I'd like to talk about a few pocket fountain pens. So what I have here, I'm just going to hold them up. I have a bunch of Kaweco Sports, including a vintage model. So let's see how they write. One of these things is not like the others. One of these things is not the same. Okay, enough Sesame Street memories. So, yeah, what we're looking at here is the Kaweco Sport line, and we have three fairly modern Kaweco Sports and one from the 1960s. So I thought it'd be fun to just take a look at some of the differences between these pens. I should take a moment for my sponsor and talk about Big Vintage Pen, which is how I purchased this Kaweco Sport, but let's not do that. So first thing you'll notice is the vintage Kaweco Sport is just a bit smaller. I don't know why, but that's how it is. All of them have a round body, and then there are facets on the cap. The difference is that I think it's even... Okay, the vintage has more facets. Ooh, oh god, that lighting is horrible. Okay, remind me to turn this lighting down when I go to do the writing sample. But anyway, the facets there's more of them and they're a lot more subtle on the vintage version. The more modern versions, it's just an octagon. No clip on the vintage, but to be fair, oops. Of course, it's been on there for years, so maybe it won't come off. Okay, just trust me. The clip is removable on the modern version. So that's an accessory you buy later. And honestly, knowing what I know now, I probably needn't have bothered to buy this clip. I also, in the modern version, I have two that are plastic, and we'll show you some subtle differences between them. And then I have this metal version. And another important, but what all the pens do is they post to make what is theoretically a comfortable writing instrument. So that one posts, this one posts, and so on. So what about other differences? Well, let's talk filling mechanisms. So this one is filled via Kaweco's mini converter, which is just a small converter. You know, a little piston fill type converter. Could eyedropper it, I just chose not to. This one, which is a Skyline Sport, is filled via a cartridge of an ink that I don't know if I'll ever use up. This one, which is an all sport because it's made out of aluminum, is filled via an aerometric converter. You know, you just squeeze it and hope for the best. I'm never a big fan of that. And what about our vintage friend? Oh, the ink window should be a clue. Yeah, this guy's filled with a piston. So there's a little piston built into this puppy. So yeah, it's a different pen from its modern incarnation. But let's take a closer look. We're going to want to look at how they write. We're going to want to look at nibs and feeds and so on. Because I just want us all to appreciate some subtle differences. I'm not going to argue that one is better than the other because honestly they all serve their purpose. If I'm going out to the garden, I'm taking one of these puppies with me. Probably not this guy because he cost a little bit more. Definitely not this guy because he's quite a lot harder to replace because he's from the 1960s. So, you know, they all serve their purpose. I don't really care for any of them for long writing purposes, although this one is probably the most comfortable for long writing sessions. So let's just take a look at them one by one. This isn't going to take the form of a regular pen review. This is definitely going to be a little different. Alright, so this is the Kaweco Sport Rodeo. And one thing I'm feeling right away is this is not the most comfortable pen. And let's get it out of the way. Some of the things I don't like about this pen. One of them, it's a screw cap, so I got to unscrew it before I post it on here. Well, you know, that's better than the Kaweco Lilliput, which I have to screw onto the end, because that's annoying. I don't have my Kaweco Lilliput handy, but I do have a TWSBI Mini handy, so, you know, you unscrew, and then you screw. Oh, now I'm ready to write. You know, why can't I just slip off the cap, slip it on the back, and there she goes, kind of like this Sailor Mini. Whoop! Whoop! Ready to go. So, a little bit extra step with it. So this is a regular Kaweco Sport. This has a fine nib in it. I find this section a little bit uncomfortable to hold, but I'm not sure why. It's just not a pen I enjoy for long writing sessions. And I should note, first of all, a little bit of line variation here. You know, no pressure, pressure. Yeah, that's from a steel nib. Maybe a little bit more friction across the paper than I like, but let's take a look at the nib. So this is the nib, regular steel nib, and then this is an older style feed. They no longer use this style. But for what it is, I guess it does a pretty good job. So my next is a Kaweco Skyline Sport. These are their more pastel finishes. Before I start writing, let's just take a quick look. Gander. Sugar hack. Let's take a quick gander at the feed. So I don't know if this is their absolute newest style feed, but it's a different style. And then our nib is a double broad. I tend to find this pen has a lot of hard starts. So we'll see how it does here. So this is a Kaweco Skyline Sport. Double broad nib. Gross. And yeah, no pressure. Pressure. So, you know, it's flexy, just not as much as the fine. And it's a different nib. I want to say that at some point Kaweco switched nib makers. I don't know, at one point maybe they used Bach and now they don't, or now they use Bach and back then they didn't. I'm not real sure. Okay, and my final one is my Kaweco All Sport, because it's aluminum, painted with blue. And it has the same feed as that Kaweco Skyline Sport. And basically the same shaped body, but I find this one a little more comfortable to hold. Like I said, I don't know why. So we've got a Kaweco All Sport. This is a medium nib. And again, a little bit of flex to the nib, not, you know, lots. A little bit just to make it a little more interesting. And then finally we have my vintage. Of course, I've done full videos on all these pens. This one's, the actual model is a V16. It's an extra fine. And the nib is kind of a classic. I've done a number of Kaweco pens that have these V-style nibs. So it's a Kaweco V16. I don't even remember what ink's in it anymore. It's an extra fine nib. It's got a little bounce to it. No pressure. Pressure. all in all, kind of a nice pen. A little bit small, but that's pretty typical for pens of this era. The section on this is actually pretty comparable to a lot of the V pens that I own. So, all in all, I think Kaweco did an interesting thing with this model because they've made a small pen that fits easily in your pocket, and then whoomph! It's a much larger, full-sized pen. Semi-full-sized, maybe. So, something to be said for that. This is a pen designed for a certain niche, and they fit that niche very well. Great pen to carry with you hiking, or walking, or working outdoors, or just, to have in your pocket. Not a great pen when you're sitting down to write your novel. So that was a kind of an odd little video where I didn't really do a full writing sample for each one, but each one has had its own video, and I will link them in the video description down below. I think the big lesson I want to take away from this is, what an interesting design. I'll just grab the closest one. It's small, fits in the pocket. I'm doing a shirt pocket because you can't see my pants pocket, but, slips right in the pocket, but yet you unscrew it, and it becomes almost a full-size pen. And, this is a form follows function deal. The other interesting thing is it sits on a desk. Doesn't roll, because it's got this octagonal top. I will concede that the vintage model has a lot more sides on the cap. A little bit slimmer. So what do I really prefer? Okay, I have a soft spot for the vintage model just because I like vintage Kaweco V pens. The piston thing, okay, yeah, that's it's a good filling mechanism, but not my favorite. It's a little more work to clean. The cartridge converter is better, but I will say this. The cartridge converter that the modern one have picked, ew. That mini converter, very small. The aerometric converter, very small and kind of hard to work with. So, I don't know, with this form factor, I think I prefer the piston. And I think I'd like to see them go the piston route with at least a few special editions. I might even buy one of their art editions or whatever they call them, if it had a piston. I will concede that there has been talk of take all this nonsense out, turn it into an eyedropper. Okay. Makes me nervous having this much ink in my pants and an eyedropper. I'll just be honest. So, I'd like to see them look at the piston again. But overall, a nice form factor in any style. Is it a form factor for long writing sessions? No. I've said that this metal one is probably my favorite for long writing sessions, but that doesn't mean it's good. I'll just say it's the best of the group. My feeling on these are short, jotted notes when you're on the road. Like, oh wait, I'm on this hike. Wait, what the heck was that plant called that I want to look up later? That kind of thing. Or, holy cow, I just met a famous artist and I got to get their name. Short, jotted notes. That's what those are for. So, I probably left you as clear as mud, but I'm planning 2 more pocket pen videos coming up soon. I want to do the Japanese pocket pens. And then let's put the German, the Japanese, and heck, let's bring in a Taiwanese pocket pen and do a big, massive Rodeo mashup. So, look for that soon. Well, thank you for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.